whole big deal about this, and anyway, tell me what you thought about that class.
Well, here's a couple of concerns about that class. Okay, I totally understand signing in that you are there attending the class, so you get paid for it. So they had you sign the sign-in sheet.
Yeah.
Then the first other thing that they hand you is the drug alcohol policy, and had you sign and turn in a drug alcohol policy that you've read and blah, 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 this whole thing, and turn that in.
Yeah.
So they had you sign and date that for the drug alcohol policy. And I could still sort of understand that one. But we didn't go over that packet. They just had us sign the top thing, hand it back to them, and gave us the packet. So it's in receipt of the packet, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. So that was the first thing that's the first thing you did there?
That's the first thing that they did there.
I see.
Those were the first two things that you had to sign during the class, which has me concerned.
Right. Yes.
I mean, that didn't have me concerned because that's standard stuff. But then they have the little, I've gone through this class card that they have you print your name and your employee number and then sign it and date it. And it's acknowledging that you've gone through the class and you've been trained on this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm starting to get a little nervous on where it stands on that.
You mean you've been trained on what? Have you been trained on anything yet when you sign that?
No.
You mean you're signing that you've been trained, but you haven't actually been trained on anything?
You're signing the card, but you don't receive the card until after the class. I still haven't received the card that I filled out and signed yet. I'm sure they're going to laminate
Yeah.
an inner office mail to me because I've completed the class.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what was the next thing? Oh, talking about the 5-mile-an-hour turn.
Oh, yeah, Jesus.
Okay. Now, in class, the instructor, or the instructors, there's a couple there, tell you that there are certain turns that you need to do 5-mile-an-hour turns.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But then there are other turns that it's safe to go more than 5 miles an hour. For example, coming off of McLaughlin, making the right onto 17th, going to the garage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they say all that. That's fine. But when I read through all the material, there is nothing that states that.
Oh, I
The
see.
material states that turns are at 5 miles an hour.
There you go. That's a typical kind of... The only thing that actually counts in a situation is what does it say on the paper.
Yeah, so when you finish the test, and even on the test, it says 5-mile-an-hour turns.
But they say to you in the class that they don't expect you to do 5 miles an hour in all the turns.
They say that there's different situations.
But they don't say that on the paper.
But they don't say that on the paper.
Yeah.
You sign.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Mm-hmm.
There's a total of 4 things that I ended up signing through this class.
Really? Yeah.
And that has me concerned.
Right. They don't give you a choice. You either sign it or get out kind of thing.
And they don't give you copies of the forms that you sign.
They don't give you copies of it. Isn't that wonderful?
So,
that's what I call wonderful.
So I signed four areas, and they did not give me a copy of that I signed.
That's lovely. That's really good, isn't it? Think about that for a minute.
It has me concerned.
Yeah, it should. It should. You shouldn't have to sign anything without getting a copy of what you're signing.
As soon as I finished the class, I did call John. I said, hey, are you familiar? Because this is, according to them, my class is the 61st class. So 61 classes have gone through.
And that's 8,
already.
Like 8 people in a class?
8 to 9, at least my class was 9.
So they're moving right through this, I see, yeah.
So responded to it. When I talked to John, John really wasn't aware of what's going on with these classes, and that bothers me.
Right.
And so when I gave him all the information about how many times I had to sign stuff, he's gonna do a request for documents.
Yeah.
He's gonna request the documents and stuff. So he is getting on it.
Good. That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
But 61 classes later, I think it's.
Yeah, it's kind of late, but.
I mean,
I'm glad you brought that. I'm glad you brought that up because I haven't taken the class, and I can insist that I get a copy of that stuff when I take the class. When I sign, I won't. I'll sign it, but I want a copy of it.
When you go through the class, let me know what you feel, because when I was looking through it, I was trying to go through.
No, I'll be documenting everything I can there. I mean, they're going to fight me tooth and nail on trying to take pictures, and but I'm going to document everything I can that I can do without getting myself in trouble. That is, but.
And they did show videos, but they didn't identify operators or anything of. The only operator that they identified was the incident with Sandy Day.
Did you recognize any of the operators in those videos?
They don't show any operators.
Oh, okay. Apparently
they don't show the actual operators.
They were, but I guess they've changed that now.
During our class, I didn't see any operators. It's just buses.
Mm-hmm.
Bus cameras.
Uh-huh.
The big thing was right hook turns, cutting off bicyclists, failure to see people in crosswalks, skateboarders downtown, people dashing in front of the train that just stopped as the bus was starting to go past Max, stuff like that. And they're trying to show all these unpredictable things that occur that you need to be aware of, which
right. Well, we already know that, of course. Yeah.
Well, you can't assume everyone knows that.
Well, if you're driving out here, you better know that there's a lot of unpredictable things that occur. I mean, how'd you get through the training if you didn't get that part of it?
Yeah, and then they have you go through then they have you go out with a trainer.
Right.
They divide you down to where, for a period of time, you and two other people are riding with a trainer. They're going over on how to constantly be scanning. You should constantly be scanning every 2 seconds, left, right, left, every intersection, all that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's very good information. There's a lot of information being pumped into you.
Yeah.
And then they are working with you on how to square up your turns rather than having the lazy turns where a lot of drivers are starting to do the lazy turns and stuff. And then they also pointed out that it is Oregon law. If you are making a right-hand turn onto a multiple-lane highway,
Mm-hmm.
you are to pull immediately into the immediate right lane.
Mm-hmm.
If you're making a left-hand turn, you are to pull to the nearest left lane. You're not supposed to skip over multiple lanes.
Yeah, okay.
But according to the trainer, they say, well, the police say there's a small little gray area. If the front of the bus protrudes into the next lane to the right, the bus could continue in on that lane. But it's one of those gray areas, and the police said, well, as long as the turn is done safely, the police would not cite a driver for going to the immediate left lane.
Going to the left lane from the right lane.
Making a left turn. No, when you're making a left turn.
If you're making a left turn, you're supposed to go in the left lane. Is that what you're saying?